So,
Hi,
Samantha,
Emily.
what? Hi, Samantha. Hello.
We haven't done one of these in
Off.
a while.
That's true. We haven't recorded one of these in a while. And off the recording, we were just talking about how destabilizing and uncertain the world is right now, especially the United States, but across the world. Um, but you had something to say about how that gives us some focusing on some areas, like the article that you just wrote, can be a place to
Yeah.
start.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm seeing in a lot of my communities, both online and offline, but the like online component of my communities, which like transcends the digital sphere, this some like what I'm characterizing as pretty like knee-jerk reactions around just like not using social media or like moving to different social media. Um, and I sort of one trend or theme that I'm seeing in this is I think for better or for worse, it's all complicated, but making decisions about how we use technology is a place where we might have more agency in the backdrop of a time where everything feels so chaotic and we feel like I should say I feel like I have no or little control about what happens to me or my family or what's happening internationally. Um, and so, in some ways, just thinking Zuckerberg is bad, Facebook is bad, I'm just not going to use it anymore. I can see how that is a very valid train of thought and very in line with like the kind of politics I'm used to of like, let's not do the bad things, let's do more of the good things. Boycotts are powerful. Um, and yet, in this context, I'm having a different reaction. Um, I think that these ditching these platforms could give us a sense of agency if we're able to have conversations together with our communities about how we want to use technology together, but making solo choices might give us sense more of what I'm thinking of as the illusion of control, where I feel like we can make this grand gesture, but actually end up more isolated than we were before at a time when we desperately need connection.
Yeah, yeah. So to be concrete and sort of example based on what you're describing, um, you shared that you're part of some online communities, right? Like if it's a Facebook group or a WhatsApp group, digital spaces that have anywhere from like, 10 to
100.
200 people. Yeah, hundreds of people in them. And that we have the ability, one person has the ability to sort of put into the chat of this, we shouldn't be in this digital space anymore. And I have the skill and the ability to start this other digital space. I'm over there now,
You
either
should
like let's all move over there, or not even necessarily direction. And so that sense of control that you said, I did something, I took action, I moved fast, and I even in line with my values, that's there. But that is again one person kind of making a decision for a community group. And as you wrote in your piece, there are consequences to
Mhm.
that too. There might be good consequences in we've exited a meta product,
Yeah.
but we might also be splitting some of our communities in ways that it's very important to us not to do right now.
Yeah, or I think what I'm saying is I think that it's important to me and other people might feel like it's not as important to them. And I actually don't contest that. I would just really love to talk about that and talk about where we together want to be, which is very different to me than somebody saying, um, I'm pitching a tent over here, who's with me? um, and I think I'm really yearning for this partially because I feel like there are so many decisions kind of being handed down right now. Um, and the communities that I'm part of, and if anyone is watching and is in a community with me, I'm not talking about you or just any one community. This is a trend I'm seeing in a lot of different places and on a lot of different platforms, not Instagram,
Same.
Facebook. Like people are like, let's go to Discord, let's go to Signal. I started a new chat over here. um, I'm on Blue Sky now, like follow me over here.
Mhm.
And
Outside of social media, like ditch Salesforce, ditch Google.
yeah, right. Um, thinking about like there are like personal decisions that we get to make, like what search engine I use. I, Emily, I know you're a huge fan of Ecosia for search engines, and you've influenced me, and I'm sure other people to be like, let's use this instead of this. That's great. What search engine a person uses doesn't immediately and directly impact their community. But when you're trying to shift a community that together is using a platform, and then you personally don't want to use that platform anymore, that's the thing I'm talking about.
And I think it raises really deep questions about what is community in a digital platform. Um, there's so many pros to being able to connect with people at distance and use and so quickly to be able to message people and bring new people in. And there's a lot of those
Share
benefits,
resources.
but it's
Yeah, like one I'm in is like
sure.
really all resource sharing. And I don't only mean in the mutual aid context, although that's there too, but sort of like, has anybody done this before? Can anybody show me a policy? Like sharing people's life experiences and sharing like documentation and ideas about kind of how to do things. I I love that. And one of the things I really love about some of these spaces, Emily specifically, is that I don't know everyone there. If I just want to ask people who I already know, I can just call you. What's
That's
really
right.
cool is to
That's right.
post in these groups that have 300, 400, 500 people, and I know maybe 10% of the people. And so I'm asking the 10% I know and the 90% that I don't know. And I don't want all of those people to disappear.
It's definitely tough. I mean, and as you research and mentioned, the choices are not necessarily clear cut. It's not like um here's the evil Zuckerberg corporation and here's the safe, community driven, open source, wonderful utopia. It's just not that clear cut. Um
Mhm.
I'm torn on this as well. Like I kind of yearn for the community of Discord and Mastodon and these places. And I've found a big barrier in the technology. Even as a technologist,
Mhm.
I find a barrier to entry into these platforms. And so there is something to be examined about when we make decisions, whether as a single person for yourself to switch, or if you can talk about it as a group, like what are the factors you have to talk about when making a decision to try to move a community space? I guess even whether it's like a building on a corner or a platform.
Well, I have two thoughts on that. One is just want to acknowledge that like you and me and just like any two people have like come to our own different conclusions about this stuff. And I think that I use like whatever social media apps more than you do at this moment in our lives. And like I respect you immensely and think that your like ethical compass is very well attuned. And I know that you think that about me too. So I'm not like here to reject anyone who's like using technology a different way than me. And I know you aren't either.
Absolutely. Right.
Um,
That's right. So that's just to be specific. I have like made a statement. I'm not on social media. I'm
yeah,
like barely still on LinkedIn as my only social media and trying to pull away from it. But and I'll talk for hours about why it's important and how it's impacted my life and how it's made me look at relationship and community in different ways. But like you said, your perspective and your experience on it influences me. And I have no judgment about people who are using the
mhm,
platforms, although I do have a lot of judgment about the idea and concept of social media and how we talk about it in our society.
yeah. So the second piece I wanted to share is referencing to this blog post that I wrote that we'll probably put in like the the description of this video. Is that I laid out a plan that I think people can use if they want to shift their digital platform together. So to be transparent, I don't have like really I haven't really thought through advice for like an individual person who's like I used to use this platform. I just don't like it anymore. And I just am not interested in it anymore. And I want to try this other one. Cool. You should do that. Like, I think that that is wonderful, but I don't necessarily have advice for you. Um, and by the way, I think it's completely fine to be like, I used to participate in these groups and I loved them, but I just like don't want to anymore for whatever your personal reasons are. Or it could be ethical too. I'm speaking to people who are thinking, I don't want to use this platform anymore, but I really want to stay connected to this group. Maybe I can just get this group to move with me. And for
Oh,
those,
or I think
yeah,
just to call out, the motivation might even be not just personal. I think it could say like, I care about this community. I want us all to be safe. And so I want to make action so that we can all be
Mhm.
safe in a place and agree on.
Yeah, and I'm seeing that too. I'm seeing like motivations that are um different but also connected, like you're saying. Either I don't want to be here anymore or I don't think this is safe for all of us. Um and what what I want to say to those people is I laid out an outline in my post that gives you like 6 or 8. I can't remember what the number of steps are because as I was writing, I kept changing the number of bullet points. But I laid out a plan of just being like, before um you plant your flag somewhere else, um here are some guidelines that you could use for like how to engage your community and decide together where you might want to be, because I think there's like more options out there than might first meet the eye. I'm hearing a lot
Yes.
of Discord is better than blah, or like Signal is better than blah. And it might be. I just want to say it might be. It might be, but I think it's really worth discerning if it is, and if there's places, if there's like options out there that like we don't even know of yet, or maybe we haven't even built yet. Like I just think that there's like really a lot of potential to dream up the kind of digital spaces that serve us and are aligned with our values. So I don't think we need to settle for Meta. But I think before we ditch Meta or any other platform, Slack is not Meta, whatever, wherever we are, I think before we ditch those, we should have conversations about our values and aspirations. And those conversations are never for naught. We might stay on the same
Yeah.
platform or we might move, but what we'll have gained is we'll have talked about what's important to us. And I really, speaking to the time we're in, that is really important to be doing. Um, I think we also need to be doing like, emergency emergency preparedness and all of that, but like it's it's hard for me to say what could be more important than like digging deep with our communities about like what kind of community we are. And in this day and age, the digital spaces where we hang out is like kind of part and parcel with that.
Yes. Yes. And there's there's like a dissonance or a conflict that I want to, surface here that you're talking about that we're going to live with. Not there's not a I don't I'm not looking for a solution to it necessarily. I want us to acknowledge it and talk about it, like you're saying, that things are happening really fast around us. We're getting a lot of information. Things are changing really fast. That ratchets up the urgency, and we have sometimes the ability to act fast. And the urge to act fast and the urgency of the situation, like you're saying, is true. I'm not arguing that at all. Um, and at the same time, it is true that community building takes time. Um, Creating safe space takes time. There's no silver bullet to it. And so there's going to be a kind of dissonance that we will feel
Yeah.
to act fast or act slow. What I think is really important in those conversations that you are hopefully able to have with your communities and other people are able to have within their communities is to say, what's the amount of time that works for us? What can we stomach all together? It's probably not an immediate moment right now, and it can't take a year. So we're going to have to talk about what's
I'm
right.
suggesting a window for people of 6 to 8 weeks.
And
This
maybe
might
there's
be
even points in your
arbitrary, but
article.
my like thinking of like, I think it would be hard to do it faster than that. And then I think if it takes significantly longer than that, then people are going to get tired of it. And also you haven't made any, you, you haven't made those changes. And I think it's helpful to have the momentum of sort of kind of knowing how long you think it might take.
I really appreciate that. I'm definitely in my like draw a line in the sand era where I like to say here's a structure that you can work with. And I
Yeah.
think there's, the difference between how fast a 10-person community can shift and a 200, 300-person community can shift is vast. So I think your article points out like a great baseline to be able to work from for that conversation. And even just to say, how does it make me feel to think I want to act right now, and I even have the tools to act right now, but I really need to wait it's going to be 8 weeks before this full change comes into effect.
Or
And like
before we
work through your feelings.
decide, and I might not get what I want in the decision. Like the discussion is not about persuading people that another app is better. It's about actually engaging with each other about how to use technology together. And
I think that's really important.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I think what you just said is just really important. So I want to try to say it right back to you and repeat it. That the conversations that we're seeing in many different arenas is which let me prove why this platform needs to be left and why this is the one I've chosen to go to. And it's a valuable part of the conversation. But I think what we're coming back to is as a community, that's not the only part of the conversation and maybe shouldn't even be the center of how we hold that conversation.
Yeah. And there's, you know, this question of, am I willing to use a platform that I don't love because this community is so important to me? And I think people will come up with different answers to that question. Like for me, there are some communication platforms that I just find like so hard to use for me personally that it does impact my participation in groups that are centered around using those platforms. Um, there's a group I'm in, a bunch of different like groups I'm in that are on WhatsApp. Um, and I don't like WhatsApp. I don't like that it's green. Seriously, I'm like just being like really honest. I don't like how like there's no way to like reply to things in like a thread format, like all of the replies go to everyone. I like don't like that it's in this like other app compared to where I'm doing like most of my phone stuff. Whatever. Like I find it like just not as conducive as other apps. But I'm using it because the people I'm with and the communities that I'm in are there or are wherever, like wherever they are. I'm in Slacks with a bunch of people. I'm in someone just started a Discord for a group that I'm in. So I joined it, like I feel like pretty ambivalent.
Here's the IRL example of that. I'm in a religious community, though I myself have no religious beliefs, but
Mhm.
I go to the temple of this religious community because that's where this community that we've built gathers.
Yeah.
I
Right.
don't love it. It's not my favorite place to go. I've got a lot of stuff to,
Yeah.
process through being there. So it's
Yeah, but you're not going to
I
go
think
there and be like, I think we should all go to the climbing gym. Let's actually move this
yeah,
Shabbat dinner to
I
the
like all of you,
gym.
just not in this
It's
context,
not
please.
here. Yeah.
No, it's such an interesting the similarities and the differences of community and community building in the like brick and mortar space and in person and the digital space. It's really an interesting conversation to have. And I just keep coming back to, what I think what you put out in your writing is that one of the similarities that were maybe like missing in the digital space and not taking the lesson from the IRL space is that there is a certain amount of time that it takes to switch not because of how easy or hard the building move is or the platform move is, although that's a factor, but it's the getting the community conversation before a move happens, before a decision happens. And maybe we need to pay a little more attention in our digital online communities to remember that
Mhm.
that is actually a part of it.
And for folks like me who are feeling like we want to cling to the platforms we already have, just to like be transparent, that's my bias, or that's my opinion. Um, I think that we need to listen to the people who want to shift and really listen to understand what their concerns are. Um, and I hope that people who want to switch are willing to also listen and be patient. Because I think making decisions together is itself political, and it can be healing or transformative in and of itself. And being able to have like our own self-efficacy about where we gather is when so many of our rights and control over our future are being jeopardized. Like, I think that we need to have conversations with each other about our futures. And if we start with what's important to us and what digital platform do we want to be, that seems like as good a place to start, especially since there's already tension about it. That seems as good a place to start as any. And it actually seems better than like, what should our word salad mission statement be?
Oh, that's a whole other recorded conversation to go down that path. Yeah. So okay, so maybe just personally for you, if your whole community decided to switch to a platform that you were like less than thrilled to go to, yeah, what do you think? Do you think you would go if the whole community was going?
um,
Let's choose
I
one
think
that we've talked
the
about
answer
that's
is
secure but annoying.
right. I think the answer is yes, I would go. If the community was like, we did all this research and 4chan is the best option, I think I would be like, I'm sorry, I just can't. Like, I would be like, I will miss you. I don't want to block this community from doing this, but like, I don't think I want to be part of that. And I think like, I want to like, um, help people anticipate that not everybody is gonna move over. Um, and that's part of the reason why having a community process is so important. Um, that's also true if we don't have a community process, is that not everybody is going to stay. So just looking at it from a baseline of like change is inevitable. Um, uh, what I anticipate the result of these community processes, if in the communities that I'm part of, if they happen, is that I will definitely go to where the people are. Even if it's a platform that I don't personally prefer. I'm already on a platform that I don't prefer for in one case.
Right. That's
Yeah.
right. It's interesting, to think of it from that perspective. And there's also these like platforms that we might prefer to be on, but have these like moral conflicts or ethical conflicts with. I really want to use Salesforce, the technology. I don't want to be in bed with the company, but I really want to use that technology.
Mhm.
And I think what's put out now is a lot of statements of here's the moral finish line on this. You cannot be part of this technology. And I think what I heard in what you're saying now and in your article is that if you find yourself at that place, maybe it's a good practice to find some other spaces to listen to why people want to be there and how hard that is to be confronted with that kind of moral finish line when you're attached to a digital space or a product or a physical place.
Yeah. And I can also say, like, I have left platforms, um, and I have gone to ones that are the most value aligned for me. And I feel really good about those decisions. And like, I am not connected with as many people who I actually know in real life than I was before. And the people who I'm connected with in the new places, it's been hard for me to feel like I'm getting to know them. Like, I think that I did, like when I was using Twitter, I did used to have like online friends who I didn't know in real life who I met because we were on this platform together. That hasn't happened for me yet on Mastodon or in some of these other places, but I still like the platform and I'm learning a lot and I'm eavesdropping on really cool conversations about technology, but like my crafty people aren't there. My crafty people are on Instagram, whatever the case may be. So just like thinking, making the most values aligned decision on some values, like evil CEOs, um, might also mean dialing, might also mean sacrificing a little bit on another value, like community building in a particular context. Um, and I
Yeah.
think that's okay. I don't want to say like if you make values aligned decisions, you're going to be lonely. I don't, that hasn't actually been true for me, but I do know that I'm missing the feeling this like critical mass of like my um friends who are all using the same platform together.
Yeah. I think that's a really valuable
And
thing
maybe that's one of
to
the reasons
recognize.
why I want to take on some leadership now and say, whatever platform we use, I want to use it together. Can we decide together and not have it just be like
Yeah.
me picking my platforms, you pick your platforms, see ya, maybe, maybe not.
And if we're able to learn lessons and apply them to the future, assuming we have a future here, which seems so uncertain at this point,
Yeah.
I think this idea that we at the beginning it might be valuable to write into the community norms or standards or whatever the idea that this platform we're using, this digital space, could go away.
Mhm.
I don't think blue sky is like the heaven on earth alternative to X that feels like people are kind of touting it as. And not only could it like just disappear because people lose interest, because it's not enough adoption, because the
Enter
people involved
capital
in it
back.
still
Yeah.
corrupt.
It could be
Yeah,
bought,
like
it could be
it
deprecated,
could be
lots of things could happen. Yeah.
yeah, an earthquake could swallow its servers. Like there's yeah, so many things that we need to and I feel like there are some thought leaders that talk about this to say it is important to and now's the opportunity to have that conversation. What makes this a community a community? And the first top five things are not the digital space that it's being held in. What are those top five things really? And how do we move those things if they have to be moved?
Yeah. 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 Oh, that's a really beautiful sentiment. How do we either move those or just keep nurturing those wherever we are and in whatever way?
Yeah. Well, for anyone who sees this, if you are a community builder for real life, online, hybrid, however, and you've put some thought into that and you want to share it, please reach out so we can
Or
share
if
it.
you're like, I feel like so personally conflicted. My community is on Meta, but I feel like I can't take it anymore. Like you, we want to talk with you. Um,
Yeah,
we really do.
this is a community, an ad hoc like community coming together to just vent, to be able to have these kinds of discussions. And we're not going to solve problems, certainly not in one conversation or overnight. So we're not looking for that. We're looking to talk.
And we're not going to tell you that you're wrong.
Yeah. Why don't we pick a subject, a benign subject like dog breeds, and everyone's allowed to tell the other one that their favorite dog breed is wrong, and
Not
we'll
the
get that
best
out of our
one.
systems, and then we'll come back to a more like
Uh-huh.
even playing.
Yeah.
Oh
Thank you for
gosh.
talking to
Well,
me, Emily.
thank you for your writing on this and your thought leadership as always, Samantha. So appreciative.